Welcome to Ingrid's World. Are you your brother's keeper? Our guests will illustrate the importance of looking out for one another and may give us tips of how we can involve one another. Meet a Catholic priest who is pastor and member of a non-partisan coalition of faith communities and civic organizations dedicated to addressing key community issues. We will speak to a dentist who takes time off from her thriving practice in Virginia and travels to Swaziland to deliver dental care. Our last guest leads an organization that defines their work as creating an opportunity for all members of our community to have a better life. Now, let's welcome to the show Father Gerard Creedon. Welcome to the show, Father Jerry. It's a pleasure to have you here.
I'm delighted to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Gerard Creedon. I'm a native of Ireland, County Cork. I'm one of 14 children, the fourth, and was ordained in Dublin in 1968 for the Diocese of Richmond, which covered all of the state of Virginia. Wow. And I've been working in Northern Virginia, the Diocese of Arlington, since 68. So that's almost 46 years. But 4 years I spent in the Dominican Republic of those years. And I was establishing a mission there with the Diocese of San Juan de la Maguana, where people taught me how to speak Espanol. And I'd also served in the south of France as a deacon before ordination, working with these worker priests in the Mission de France.
Wow, so it's such a pleasure to have you here. You're a pastor at a church. Which church is that?
A Holy Family, Dale City in Forestdale, Dale City, Woodbridge, about almost 4,000 households. And I would say at least half are immigrants, most recent immigrants, Spanish-speaking.
Wow. One of the things why I was so excited about having you on the show is because you've been very active in the community. What was Holy Family Community like when you first arrived?
Well, the former pastor, Father Planty, told me on arrival that a third of the families in our zip code had been foreclosed during the housing crisis. So it was a parish with a lot of wealthy people. Prince William is not a poor county.
That's right.
And yet a lot of people struggling to make ends meet and to stay in their homes. And particularly the foreclosure crisis had left a huge hole in the community, a blight. And that's something I felt called to do something about.
So how did you were called to do something about, and that, where did that lead you to?
Well, I'd always been interested in the housing issues. Way back in the 70s, I started as Catholics for Housing and got back on their board when I went to Dale City, but got involved with Voice, Virginians Organized for Interfaith Community Engagement. I was one of the clergy leaders who got that going in Northern Virginia, covered Arlington, Alexandria, Fairfax, Prince William. And our goal was to organize people, not just advocate for people, but get people to speak for themselves in the area of healthcare, in the area of justice for immigrants, and especially in this area of housing. And the focus in Prince William has been on the housing issue.
The housing issue is quite critical. So what are some of the things that you all have been doing? I mean,
well, what we did was we listened to people. About 400 households more we interviewed and listened to their stories, called people together, identified the root causes of the problems, finding out which were the banks that did the loans that you could consider predatory loans, loans that were almost designed to fail. People say, well, people are individually responsible. Yes, but the practices involved were questionable. So we went after the Bank of America, GE, and also JP Morgan Chase. And we spoke to the CEOs. We went to their corporate meetings. I went myself personally to New York with a group of clergy to meet with Jamie Dimon. We met with Jeff Immelt over in Washington.
Yes.
Reverend Clyde Ellis, a dear friend of mine from the local Baptist church, went and met with Brian Moynihan. And all of these executives made promises to us to restore the communities that they had helped to blight. and to take responsibility for restoring communities that had been decimated by the housing crisis and a fiscal crisis and the practices that had been perpetrated.
Right. I mean, finding the courage and to say you really stepped out there to do that, and goodness, the community is thankful that you've done that.
Well, the people with the real courage are those who spent 3 years writing to, say, Brian Moynihan without relief, in danger of being foreclosed, and speaking for themselves.
Exactly.
In those circumstances, that took real courage.
So would you say, what was the pivotal moment for that?
I think one of our initial meetings where we got more than 1,000 people together, and the politicians locally, Senator Warner has been very supportive, and seeing the local politicians there to listen, it gave a certain kind of weight to the work that we've been doing in the community.
Wow.
So I think, but I think for me, seeing Brian Moynihan's vice president come to Holy Family Church, sit opposite a group of clergy and lay leaders and telling us that she was here to win back the trust for the Bank of America that had been lost in our community. And she worked with us, and they came through eventually with $20 million promised for community restoration. And we're going to work on that. JP Morgan Chase made that promise as well. Jamie Dimon said he would do what is just and compassionate.
Okay.
They promised $10 million for equity funding, but did not come through with their promises. So they've backed off. And we intend to go to their shareholders meeting and represent the need and their need to restore some of what was accomplished. And we're hoping that they'll come to the table.
I was also, when I was reading about it, I saw something about GE and what they're going to be doing.
They're also coming up with millions of dollars. They've also come up with funding for housing counselors, which are people who have housing counselors are 70% more likely to stay in their homes. Also, they've come up with money for credit restoration, and that's a hugely important question to families who have been foreclosed and getting into new housing.
You're such a model in terms of, how to get things done. Our viewers are out there and they're saying, okay, how do I get involved? Where do I start? What's your suggestions?
Well, I think you need to get involved with organizations like Voice, or in my case as chair of the Diocesan Peace and Justice Commission, that gives you a forum to make a difference. But on a personal level, everybody gets involved in service, and they should. And we encourage direct service. There are people in our woods. 2 people in the last week died of exposure, one under an exit on Dale Boulevard. The police identified him. So we have to reach out person to person. At the same time, we have to ask questions. For example, we have 20 pantries dealing with hunger in the Diocese of Arlington. But we need not only to feed people, but ask, why are people working and still hungry? We have to ask the underlying policy questions and respond in 3 different ways: educate, advocate, and organize. And at least advocate. We can get involved with a network like SALT, or in our case, Virginia Catholic Conference, and look at the legislation that's coming up. See about the Housing Trust Fund. See about health care. 400,000 people in Virginia who are going to be deprived of health care by policy decisions unless people speak up and use the tax money that's going out of the state to provide for basic health care. We need to deal with the system that keeps people sick and homeless. And not just to throw all of the responsibility on individuals. Individuals have a responsibility, and we have a responsibility for individual charity, but we're dealing with systems, with structures, economic structures, political structures, and we need to dig into those as well. Pope Francis just said, priests who are working in the streets in Argentina, who've been criticized for being involved with community organizing and so forth. He says, they're not communists. They're just following the gospel. We need to deal with not only with individuals, but with the conditions that enslave people.
You're inspiring. Really, we could devote a whole show, and I'm going to have to actually come back again because, I think that's what it's all about. Well, Father Jerry, thank you again for being on the show, and I hope people will look at this as a way of getting involved, seek out the wonderful knowledge that you have given to us, information, and getting involved and helping our fellow men.
Well, get on the website, Join Voice.
Join Voice, I love it. Father, thank you so much for being here.
Appreciate it.
Coming up next, I want you to meet Dr. Lois Wilson, who is a dentist, co-founder of MICLO, which delivers dental care in Swaziland. Let's welcome to the show Dr. Lois Wilson. Dr. Wilson, thank you so much for being here on Ingrid's World.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Well, let's start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I am a general dentist and I practice in McLean, Virginia, and I've been in McLean since 2002. But my career started long before then. I graduated back in 1985 from the University of Maryland and entered the Army and have been in private practice since my days in the Army. So it's been over 25 years, Ingrid.
Wonderful, rich history, too. My goodness. Well, I got excited about you, not only a fine person that you are, but some of the wonderful work that you do in Africa. Let's first start. How did you first get involved in this particular project?
Oh, well,
let's first start off with the name of your program.
Okay, the name of the program is the Michelo program. And you could say Michelo if you wanted to put an accent to it. But it's Michelle and Lois, really, is where the name
Michelle
came from.
Lois.
Yes.
See, now you wouldn't know that.
That's right. Well, we were inspired. In 2007, I led a group of young professionals to Southern Africa. We visited a lot of South Africa and had part of our trip was in Swaziland. So there we were, it was Mother's Day weekend, and we were in Swaziland, and my children and family are back home in the States. But we were surrounded by the most warm and loving people. And they took us to visit a school, and it was St. Joseph's School for the Disabled, the only school for disabled children in Swaziland. Yes. And we're standing on this, it's a rolling hill country, so it's very much like they call it the Switzerland of Africa. Beautiful rolling hills, and we're standing looking out over the vista, just feeling our hearts swell, just so, feeling home, feeling like we were home. Yes. And the father that was head of the school asked us, he said, is there anything you can do? We have a school for children with disabilities, and our teachers are not trained to work with children with disabilities. And I said, well, I have a special education teacher on the trip with me, and that was Michelle. I'm sure there's something we can do. So we leave, that was just a weekend visit. We finish our trip through Southern Africa. This is a month. All right. And on the plane ride home, we debriefing and talking and said, there's got to be something we can do. We want to come back. How can we help? So that's how we jokingly said, well, we'll make a project. This is Rotary, we'll make a project. It'll be the Michelle and Lois, Lois and Michelle. And so we shortened that to Michelo on the plane coming back in 2007. So we came home and we thought about it and kind of one of those things that we'll get to it, and the opportunity came, and things just fell into place. So since 2009, we went back for an exploratory, and we've been going back ever since, every year ever since.
Every year ever since.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Michelo. It's beautiful. Yes. Now, when you are there in Africa, what are you doing in Swaziland?
Wow. In Swaziland, like I said, we're adopted now as part of the family there, but our commitment has been to the children at the school with disabilities. So we've been able to provide teacher training education where there wasn't any before in special education. We actually created a team of teachers and took them over in 2010 when they actually did one-on-one, did kind of in-service training to teachers in special ed. And then in 2010, in 2011, we started our first dental mission. The children there had never been really seen by the dentist. This is a country of 1 million people. The poverty rate is extremely high. It has the highest HIV and AIDS rate of any country. And the biggest problem they have are children, orphans, children who are head of households. So their parents.
Children head of households.
Children that are head of
I heard you
households.
correctly.
Yes, you did. The HIV epidemic has wiped out a generation that are our age. They're parents.
Really?
Yeah. So you have grandmothers that are trying to raise their children's children. And then when the grandmothers are gone, the children are left to themselves. So it's a huge problem for Swaziland. So it was one that we just couldn't walk away from. So that's our commitment. Our commitment has been to help. And then when you have a population or a country where education for children with special needs is a new concept, being that St. Joseph's being the only school. And it doesn't matter what disability. It could have been physical, mental. They were all just kind of thrown together in classrooms. So over the years, we've been able to work with the teachers, implement kind of a system for them to help identify kids and their abilities and place them in proper classrooms. So we've seen that grow a lot, and we've added to that over the years. So like I said, dental, music education. We've added music education. We've had music teachers going to help give them something to do, because there are a lot of kids at board that actually live at the school because they have nowhere to go. So we do a lot of work with them for after-school activities. They had none. One of the things that I'm really proud of is that over the years, on one of our visits, there was a family there who was visiting. Their father was working in the country, and they were from Texas. And their father, who was working in the country, didn't believe we were going to get anything accomplished. So we were staying at the same guest house, and we'd go for dinner. He said, "Oh, like, you're wasting your time. The government is not going to help you. They're not organized. A lot of negative things, very negative things." And we said, "Well, you don't know us. You know."
He obviously, this was the first time he met you.
Exactly. We'll see. So sure enough, we get everything done, even though it looked like at the beginning of our trip like it wouldn't happen. We did not worry about that. We knew that we would get it done, and so we did. And we had a very successful dental mission. The Minister of Health came, the Minister of Education, a lot of dignitaries came too. They were so happy for what we were doing. So the support was there. Well, little did he know that his daughter had come to visit the school along with Michelle. And she came home and said she wanted to do something. So she did a Girl Scout, like a senior level Girl Scout project, and raised money and went back, took them and brought the money back and built a playground that's adaptive playground for children. Yes. And that wasn't going to happen. And certainly he didn't think anything was going to happen. So now, guess who's our biggest supporter? So he is. He says, "When are you going back? They had extra money left over. They want to work on the toilets and the showers because they didn't have running water for the kids in there that stayed on the campus. So now the boys have gotten taken care of. So now we're working to put in the toilets and the showers for the girls." So a lot happened. So it's a blessing as to what can get accomplished.
It really is. So someone's watching this program and they're saying, "You know what, this is fantastic. How do I get involved?"
Easy.
How do you do that?
That's easy. We have a website. So it's the Michelo, MICHELO program.com.
Excellent.
And on that site, they can see ways to get involved. They can either donate or contact us if they want to contribute. If we take donations, so if you travel a lot, so we travel with one little carry-on bag with our clothes, and then two big suitcases filled with whatever that people donate. So we take socks and gloves and hats, because in the summer when we go, it's their winter. So, and it actually does get cold. So a lot of people don't realize that. So it does get cold. So we do take over things for them: blankets, school supplies, toothbrushes, of course, lots and lots of toothbrushes. So yeah, everything we can get donated, we will take over.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so.
You're inspiring, because I read that and I remember reading about the Girl Scouts, and that confused me. I'm like, how did the Girl Scouts get involved?
Yeah.
So now, what is your takeaway about this project? What did you learn that was the most important thing that you learned from managing this?
Oh my goodness, the generosity of people. The generosity of people, and even when it doesn't look as if it's there, it's there. And so the spirit of human beings to want to make a difference in the world is just, it's humbling that what people will want to contribute to and do. So we are blessed that we're able to actually do it, but we also know we're not able to do that without the support of other people and the people that so willingly support us to do that. So
I'm excited. I know I'm going to get on that website because I got a link arms too with you all.
Thank you.
Dr. Wilson, always a pleasure seeing you, but
same,
particularly
Ingrid.
being on this show.
Oh, thank you.
The next guest I want you to meet is Rosie Allen-Herring, President and CEO of the United Way National Capital Area. Welcome to the show, Rosie Allen-Herring. Welcome to the show. It's so a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Well, you know, I got excited about you because you're from the United Way, but let's first start about what brought you to this area.
Well, I'm originally from Mississippi, from Greenville, Mississippi, in the heart of the Delta. And I came to the Washington area as a daughter of Howard University, where I received my undergraduate degree in economics. And of course, fell in love with the city and all that it had to offer, the culture and the like, and decided to stay. Had my first job straight out of undergrad at what is now Bank of America.
Oh my goodness.
And then, of course, got married and started a family and spent the next couple of years in corporate America.
My goodness. And that's a great experience that you've had, that background in corporate America. What brought you to the United Way?
Well, after being at Fannie Mae Corporation for 21 years in a myriad of positions, it really did prepare me for this time now. And many of the assignments that I had at Fannie Mae allowed me to marry the business with the community and the community to business in terms of being very mission oriented, but certainly applying the business acumen. And so when the opportunity came and I was approached about the United Way of the National Capital Area, it seemed a natural fit. Very organic, but very much aligned with my personal priorities of being very mission driven, but hopefully being able to bring that experience that I've had here in the region and nationally around philanthropic efforts.
You know, it's exciting. First of all, let's start out with the mission of the United Way. Tell us about the mission.
Well, the United Way of the National Capital Area is a regional collaborative organization. Our mission is really to bring solutions to bear for this metropolitan area, which is the nation's capital, and to bring partners to the table in that process. So it's really to ensure that we have not only a region that survives, but one that thrives. So it's very mission driven, that runs the plethora of ideas and solutions to just about any issue that you likely can think of. But it really is about the mission of bringing and ensuring that there is a surviving and thriving community.
And that really just means a lot. So how many, let's say, people participate through United Way in terms of being partners with you?
Wow. Well, we have partners in a couple of different ways at the United Way of the National Capital Area. We have about 800 corporate partners who do workplace giving campaigns, about 3,500 campaigns across the region. And then we have about 663 or so member organizations who do great work on the community, in the community on the ground each and every day. And so when we think about marrying those workplace campaigns with the hundreds of thousands of workers who are in those workplaces, along with these organizations who are serving thousands and hundreds of thousands of citizens every day. So when we think about it, our donor base in terms of those individuals who have chosen the United Way as a means for doing their philanthropy numbers at about 150,000.
150,000
donors, yeah.
Oh my goodness. You know what? I really didn't, know that. Certainly not that number without a doubt. What are some of the things that really, like, you look at this and at a particular project that United Way made possible? Tell us about some of those things.
Well, we have a couple that I'm proud of, and I have the pleasure of working with a team who's extremely committed to the work here in the community, and I'm privileged to serve them every day as we look to do this work in the community. There are a couple, because the United Way's principles are our strategic priorities, if you will, really align around three different pillars. They are education, health, and financial stability or income. And so two specific things that I'm most proud of that we've been working on, one with regards to income and financial stability as a workforce initiative, where we're working with Goodwill of Greater Washington along with a myriad of other partners around ensuring that there is a steady workforce for the new Convention Center Marriott. And so we've partnered with Goodwill that we made a $350,000 investment to leverage a $2.2 million investment from the city that allowed Goodwill to ensure that there were trained, capable individuals who are ready to take those jobs as that new Convention Center Marriott opens in May of this year. And so that's working very well. Excellent. And when we know, what happens to a family when there is a steady income there, it really has a reverberating effect down throughout the entire success of that particular family unit. Another area of focus for us that we've been most proud of is our work with Kelly Miller Middle School. It's in Northeast Washington, D.C. It's a school that we took an interest in about a year or so ago. We're in our second year at partnering with them through a partnership with City Year, which is a core of volunteers who are young people, typically who've just graduated from college or so, and they spend a year volunteering their time to be on the ground in classrooms with our young people. And so at the middle school in Northeast Washington, there is a core of volunteers that we've helped invest in that we know now have shown exponential results and impact in the work that they're doing alongside the leadership there at the school. So it's a phenomenal effort. Those are just two that we're most proud of.
You're doing the type of work that everyone, I know watching this is going to get excited. So I'm sitting there, and again, this is a show that's focused on my brother's keeper. How can I get involved with United Way? Well,
if you're interested in working with us, there is nothing, there is a many things that you can do, and we turn down nothing. Ooh. And so it's an opportunity for us. If you go to our website, which is www.uwnca.org, for United Way National Capital Area.org, there's an opportunity for you not only to certainly make a donation and being able to share where you'd like those funds to be invested, to know that you're impacting the work in the community, but it's also an opportunity for you to bring your time and your talent to the table. So there are numerous opportunities to volunteer, and so we certainly look for the entire region to bring its whole self to the table around those opportunities. So if you look on our website, it'll share all of the things that we have going on. We're in the midst of wrapping up about 5-6 weeks of what we call alternative spring break with students who are coming literally from across the country, who are doing work in the community and teaching them a sense of service. And we've worked with the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Washington on that, so it's phenomenal.
Alternative spring break, that means to say they rehab homes?
They rehab homes. They're working in Boys and Girls Clubs. They're working with young people. And again, we've had the pleasure of hosting about 5 groups of individuals who've come literally from everywhere. They're not having the typical spring break at the beach, where they're living the high life, if you will. They are living a very modest life while they're here. They're staying at the Boys and Girls Clubs. They're working.
And it's happening right here.
It's happening right here, right now. And so every week we have enjoyed a new cohort of individuals who have come from literally colleges all across the country. And so we're really, really pleased. Young people bring such vigor and energy to all that they do, but knowing that we have a core of young people who have that sense of service, I'm pretty secure about where I think our country's going for the future.
Well, it's a pleasure to have what I feel is such a visionary leader on the show. I know you really, when I listen to you and how you speak with everything with such passion, you have a clear direction of where you're going with this, and it's about service. And I particularly love the fact of how you're getting young people involved, because there's a future.
It absolutely is.
It's a pleasure to have you on
Thank
the
you
show.
so much for having me.
you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for what you do and bringing the community together.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Why were these guests important? Well, they're a part of Ingrid's world, and now they're a part of your world. I want to thank all of our guests for coming on the show. All of you are phenomenal people. And I leave you with this final thought from Frederick Douglass. A smile or a tear has not nationality. Joy and sorrow speak alike to all nations, and above all, the confusion of tongue. Proclaim the brotherhood of man. Like us on Facebook for instant Ingrid's World News, or see ingridsworld.org. And I thank you for watching.